Evelyn Blackwood was never one to settle for mediocrity. Raised in a family of scholars and diplomats, she was always the one with the sharp mind and fierce ambition. Her father had instilled in her a sense of responsibility, while her mother's quiet yet powerful presence taught Evelyn how to weave through the world's intricacies with elegance and purpose. But none of that prepared her for betrayal. Her husband, Thomas Blackwood, was everything she had ever wanted. Charming, intelligent, and seemingly devoted, he was a perfect match for her. Together they had built an empire, a luxury real estate business that spanned across the country, investments in the arts and philanthropic ventures that made their names respected in high society. For years, Evelyn believed she had it all, until one night, everything fell apart. It was at a gala hosted by the city's elite, a gathering of the people whose admiration and approval Evelyn had worked so hard to gain. While she mingled with guests, her gaze caught sight of something she would never forget. Thomas, standing near the balcony, wrapped in the arms of another woman. His face, usually so composed and reserved, was flushed with excitement, and his lips touched hers with a passion Evelyn had never seen. The woman, beautiful and unassuming, smiled up to Thomas as if the world belonged to them. Evelyn stood frozen for what felt like an eternity, her heart pounding in her chest, the weight of betrayal crashing down like a tidal wave. She couldn't confront him, not yet. The room was too crowded, too public, but something inside her snapped. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a betrayal of everything she had built, everything she had trusted him with. Chapter 2. The Unraveling. The weeks that followed were tense. Evelyn could hardly look at Thomas without seeing the image of him with the woman. She spent her days meticulously crafting her plan. She knew that revenge would require patience. Thomas, after all, had built his career on being untouchable, a man who had too many allies, too many admirers. Going after him head-on would be reckless. She needed precision. Evelyn started small. She quietly reached out to her network, pulling strings, seeking any piece of information that would allow her to chip away at Thomas's pristine image. She spoke to employees, old friends, former partners. Little by little, the cracks in Thomas's empire began to show. The woman, whose name Evelyn learned was Claire, was more than just an affair. She was a journalist, an ambitious one at that, and Thomas had promised her a feature on their company's future plans. It was clear to Evelyn now, this was no random fling, it was a power play. Evelyn played her part, going about her daily life with a calmness that belied the storm brewing beneath her composed exterior. She became more involved in their business operations, subtly steering things behind the scenes. She wasn't just going to ruin Thomas's reputation, she was going to make him beg for forgiveness. Chapter 3. The Subtle Push. Evelyn's strategy was psychological. She knew Thomas's weaknesses better than anyone. His vanity, his obsession with maintaining his public image, and his sense of superiority. These would be the tools she would use against him. She started by making him doubt his own decisions. It began with small, subtle remarks in meetings, questions that made him question his judgment. She planted seeds of doubt among his closest allies, making them wonder if Thomas was really the visionary he claims to be, or if he was simply riding on the coattails of others. Then she turned her focus to Claire. Evelyn wasn't going to let her remain unscathed. She sent anonymous tips to Claire's editor, hinting at discrepancies in some of her past articles. Some were trivial, but enough to discredit her. Evelyn knew that once Claire's reputation began to crack, Thomas would lose faith in her, and the affair would be exposed for what it truly was, a desperate attempt at climbing the social ladder. But Evelyn didn't stop there. She began to manipulate Thomas's perception of her. She became more distant, cold, almost robotic in her responses. She gave him just enough attention to keep him hooked, but withheld everything that once made their marriage feel warm and alive. Her absence, emotionally and physically, left him desperate. He would search for excuses to keep her close, to win back the affection he once took for granted. Chapter 4. The Breaking Point. Months passed and the pressure on Thomas mounted. His business was faltering. Claire was no longer the golden girl he had hoped she would be. The investors, once loyal, were now questioning his leadership. His closest allies, the ones he had relied on for years, were pulling away. And then, just when Thomas thought things couldn't get worse, Claire disappeared. Evelyn had arranged for a scandalous photo of Claire with a well-known politician to be leaked. The story was everywhere. Claire was caught in a compromising situation, and her career as a journalist crumbled overnight. With Claire gone, Thomas had no one. The media, once praising his every move, now began to question his judgment. His affair, exposed to the public, was no longer something he could hide. As for Evelyn, she watched it all unfold with a quiet satisfaction. She had turned Thomas's life upside down, piece by piece, and he hadn't even seen it coming. Chapter 5. The Final Act. It wasn't enough for Evelyn to simply watch Thomas suffer. She needed him to feel the full weight of his betrayal, to understand how deeply he had wronged her. One evening, as the weight of his failures seemed to crush him, Evelyn made her move. She called him into their grand office, the place where they had once shared dreams of success. She had prepared everything: documents, phone records, photographs. She laid it all out before him. "Thomas," she began, her voice cold and calculated, "you thought you could betray me, destroy what we built together, and walk away unscathed. You were wrong." His face, pale and drawn, betrayed his guilt, but he still tried to maintain his composure, to salvage whatever pride he had left. "Evelyn, I made a mistake. Please, let's fix this. We can rebuild, together." Evelyn's lips curled into a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Oh, we can rebuild, but not together. You'll lose everything, your empire, your name, your credibility, and I will be watching as it all falls apart." She stood up, leaving the office, but before she did, she turned back one last time. "I'm not the same woman you married, Thomas. You never understood that, and now you'll have to live with the consequences." With that, Evelyn walked away, leaving Thomas to face the ruin of his own making. Epilogue: The Aftermath. Years later, Evelyn stood at the top of a high-rise building she had built herself, the city stretching out before her like a landscape she had conquered. She had rebuilt her life, stronger, wiser, and more successful than ever before. The Blackwood name, once revered, was now a distant memory, reduced to whispers and scandals. As for Thomas, he had lost it all. His business crumbled, his allies abandoned him. Claire, once his lover, had vanished into obscurity, leaving him with nothing but the remnants of his own pride and mistakes. In the end, Evelyn Blackwood had won.